So today's question comes in from Angelo. And Angelo writes, I need your help to remove my grandfather's spirit that has attached to me. He doesn't want me to open up to the spirit world. And I've asked him many times to just leave and go to the light, but to no avail. I hope you can help, and I thank you in advance. Angelo, thank you so much for your question, because I know that this is actually a common occurrence. And I know that by you putting your question out there, people are going to benefit with ideas of how to handle a spirit attachment of this nature. And for me personally, I don't actually see spirit attachment as a negative experience, especially when it's a loved one, when it's a family member. And as with all things, there's a real reason and purpose that this is happening. That the fact that your grandfather is making his presence known. And I know from experience, this usually lies more in your need than his. But in the coming together, he's actually indicating and highlighting for you areas within and of the soul that might need some emotional and spiritual healing. So when any two components of energy come together, there is the universal law of like attracts like. And this is relevant in this situation, in spirit attachments. It's relevant in all of our connections to the spirit world, and especially when we have a haunting happening in this way. So uncovering what this like attracts like between the two of you is, what's holding the two of you together, will actually help you identify which areas need that emotional and spiritual healing. And it's when you move through that process and unfold that will allow him to leave and move on, and you being able to come back to some sense of normality. So how do we unfold this process? Well, what I would suggest to you is that instead of actually having the intent to get him to leave and sending him to the light, which I know is a common experience and the way most people would advise you to resolve it, but I'm not most people. So what I would suggest to you is to actually sit down and ask him one simple question, and that just starts with, how can I help you? Okay, and that very question will open the door for him to guide the process, for him to for you to then tap into what's really going on and what's needed. And just by keeping that in mind, your soul will know, your intuition will come up, and you'll guide that process. So it's a simple question of, how can I help you? And just going with what unfolds at that point. I want you also to remember that it could well be that he is a big guiding force in your life. He may not just be a spirit attachment. He may be acting as your spirit guide. And one of the things to recognize, that if you do have an intention to actually want to develop your mediumship abilities and your psychic abilities, then the fact that you have spirit present in your life in some form is a great opportunity for you to actually work and develop your psychic abilities and open up that door more. And the fact that it's your grandfather, there's nothing to be fearful of. He's there loving you. So just trust in that process. Just trust that they're there with you, and make the most of it. Sit down and ask little trivial questions. If you don't know him that well, ask him to tell him about himself. And then perhaps you have an opportunity to go and validate that. If there's stuff you don't know. And that can be a real test of your mediumship. So ask those things, and just in that key, I can intuitively feel that is going to open the door for you for healing. So, ask him how you can help him. Ask him to tell you about himself. That's your key, your real key intuitively. Because these situations all have their own unique experience, and they do have their own unique way to unfold the healing and to find that release point. But what I've done for you here is just giving you some short, simple, hopefully getting you to think about it a little bit differently. And I just want to leave you with the fact that it's your granddad. He's there because he loves you. So just trust in that. There's nothing to be fearful of, and just allow the whole process to guide you. And of course, if you need more assistance, then the best way to contact me is through my website at kerrywaring.com. So God bless, and I hope these little tips just help a little bit. Thank you.